On April 18, 2025, the Louisiana Center for the Book in the State Library of Louisiana celebrated National Poetry Month with its annual Just Listen to Yourself program. Hosted by Louisiana State Poet Laureate Alison Pelegrin, the program featured readings by Ralph Adamo, Carrie Causey, Sean F. Munro, Maurice Carlos Ruffin, and Sha'Condria Sibley. Introducing the program is the Louisiana Center for the Book Executive Director, Jim Davis.
Thank you for being with us for our 15th Just Listen to Yourself. The Louisiana Poet Laureate presents Louisiana Poets. I can't believe it's 15 years. It was a concept that an earlier Poet Laureate, Darrell Bork, came up with, and it's a name that Robbie Wilson, the assistant director, came up with, and it's so gratifying that it's lasted 15 years, and I'm sure it will continue to go on. We appreciate your being here, and I'm not going through a formal introduction with Alison Pelegrin. There's information about her in the program, as with the other poets. I just want to say that I've known Alison for many years, and she has participated in Just Listen to Yourself, I don't know how many years. So to the rest of you, you may wind up being a Poet Laureate. It happened to Alison with her being with us so many years, not with Just Listen to Yourself, but with the book festival. She's been so supportive these many years. I am so proud of Alison and what she has done during her term as Poet Laureate. She has taken on the project upon herself of taking poetry writing into correctional facilities. And she may want to tell you more about that. I hope she will. And it just so happens that another person who has been at the festival, the best-selling writer Wiley Lamb, has done the same thing over the years. And Wiley has a new novel coming out, so he's going to be back at the festival this year, but we're going to have an extra program where Alison and Wiley will talk about their experiences with taking these poetry writing classes into facilities, and it's just wonderful that Alison took that on as a project, and so we're very proud of you, Alison. And just on a personal note, I'll say this is the last program for the Center for the Book that I'll be introducing, because I'm retiring this summer. So I'm very proud that the last person that I'm introducing is Alison Pelegrin.
Thank you so much, Jim, and congratulations on your Lifetime Achievement Award. I'm sure you all had the chance to listen to that great interview with Susan Larson, if it was last week or the week before. I love hearing all those stories about writers in the festival, and I'm so proud to be here today with an outstanding group of poets. I've got Carrie Causey up here, Maurice Ruffin, Ralph Adamo, Sean Munro, and Sha'Condria Sibley. One of our poets, Nikki Umnell, couldn't be here today. She has a very good reason. She's a new mom. And so I thought I'd start with a poem from her. It's from her book called Hush. And this is After the Flood by Nikki Umnell. We took with us things immediate: dog leash by the door, overripe bananas, fresh underwear folded in the basket by the stairs. It was not enough. We wrung our hands nightly, hundreds of miles away. Word of mouth birthed new rivers within us, all washed clean. We wait for the river water to stop being greedy. Lifetimes. What will they say, our descendants, when our home re-emerges, when the water recedes of our chipped bowls, the blown glass bong? Will they know the love we shared, our record player clamped shut, still spinning Fats Domino? So that was Nikki, and she's really sorry she couldn't be here today. As Jim mentioned, I've had the privilege of visiting carceral facilities for poetry workshops throughout my tenure as Louisiana Poet Laureate. The idea came to me when I was at the Angola Poetry Group standing in the library. Specifically, I was standing at the window eating a piece of carrot cake out of a nacho tray. And I was with a number of the men who were in the group, and we were all waiting for a bird to pass by the window, which I know sounds very unexciting. But I also think that I am in an audience that can appreciate what it's like to expect something and to anticipate it, and then to the delight you feel when it does happen. It's never quite predictable enough. Really, for me as a poet, it feels like poetry. That's what it feels like when I'm catching poetry, you know. You can't really hunt it, you just have to grasp at it, I guess, when it comes to you. And someone in this room was very helpful, of course, Jim Davis, but also Michelle Jones. Thank you so much. Where'd you go? There you are, okay. It's a little dark in the back, so I couldn't see. You were so kind in helping me get in touch with people. I had no idea it would be so difficult to make these things happen. I get ideas that sometimes are hard. I don't realize how hard they'll be. My favorite thing about this work is that people share their work with me. So I have hundreds of note cards with poems written on them and signed or unsigned. And I wanted to share that to some degree with the world, because that's part of my mission, and that's why they gave me the poems. So what I ended up doing is putting the lines together as centos. This crowd probably knows that a cento is a literary work that's made up with lines from other literary works. So that's what I created. I called them prison sonnet centos. And I'm going to read some of them for you here. They're printed on posters, and I have some if anybody's interested in these. They're free. And I know you can't see it from your seats, but it's not only the Lifelines Poetry Project that's credited on here, it's also the New Orleans Poetry Festival, who was my community partner in this work. And we celebrated this last week at their 10th festival, which was awesome. Okay, so thank you, Sean and NOLA Poetry Fest, for that. So I'll start my reading with these prison sonnets. The clock can't save me from this prison sonnet. Let me stand and smile. Will listening unlock the mystery? My mind is stuck on one page. Today I'm feeling dark and want no one to see me. Hurting people can lose hope here behind these walls. Part prison, part daycare center, dreaming of the cool grass. The spatters of rain have nowhere to be. I am the private thought made public. It is coming. I can feel the wind blowing on my face, the drums of my heartbeat. Troubles will be over soon. I hope it gives me rest. I am nobody. I see myself in you. Whenever I read these, it gives me chills because I can just see the faces and hear the voices of these poets saying these lines out. Here's the second one. The world has haunted my being all my life. I see the blackbirds fly and am jealous of their wings. The present is the only place that makes any sense. The smell of diesel on the water, the gray-green of the bayou, the owl, little minnows in the ditch. I see the mirage. I am not wise or relevant. Fenced-in aggression ripples up and down my body. Wherever I go, there's a gate to unlock. Shackled away from knowing, I am the red sinking sun. See the smoke flying from my shoes. Now I need to change the tone because I know those are heavy. This is called Day Drinking at the End of Days. Everything, it's my hobby, okay. Everything is on fire, but I feel about average, thanks to the Larkin plan, which is to work all day and get half drunk at night. This is how I wrote my books and raised my kids and rebuilt after Katrina, the first hurricane to leave a permanent mark. A part of me will always be exiled in a hotel room, wanting to stab in the eye anyone who says, I wonder if they should rebuild. But there is a case to be made. Why rinse cans for recycling that winds up at the dump? Not to mention the kids I birthed into this hot mess of a red state. No amount of green or bayou fog can ever make up for it. There are literal pilots dive-bombing pesticides, not to mention the open secret malicious stonemason who made a house call to say he has our back. This was pre-insurrection, so I thought he was being friendly despite the moat of mean dogs patrolling his compound. But now I wonder if it was a sign, as when a cardinal slammed into my car, his soul released in an upward blast, a feather bomb. Is the crimson bird prophetic, a heart beating outside of my body? Is it time to tie off loose ends, to enter deeper into or to wake from my rot gut buzz, so that I might sing as I walk into the fire? This poem's called Zero Bothers Given. At last I have reached the perfect age, which is my tramp stamp needs a footnote years old. I have circled back, entering a sort of informed childhood, place where I can let my fat overflow and wear running shoes with dresses while relishing my newest moniker, not MILF, but woman of a certain age, woman abandoned by decorum who voices beliefs and pet peeves so deeply tamped down their release is almost sexual. All lapdogs get on my nerves. Today's students whine too much, and to hell with high fantasy, the Hobbit most of all. I can finally say to the mystic crew of mansplainers and the flag-happy truckers in this Malone LeBay wonderland, nobody's treading on you, sweetie. And even though putting it in a poem is barely saying it at all, I feel brave and sort of emboldened. And I wish I had started sooner so there might be a spot for me in the Zero Bothers Hall of Fame, alongside that woman at Walmart who caged her own fit-pitching child with an inverted shopping cart. Chaucer knew the sensation of yodeling down the mountain on the shorter side of days. The life so short, the craft so long to learn. Let the world be what it is, a dumpster fire where robots write the poems. As for me, moody grandam of fickle tastes, I demand that my chain letter to the world be forwarded to as many people as possible before it self-destructs, before I do. I'm cranky already, stitching curse words in silk, shimmering proof of my ill will. It won't take much, a pinprick would do it, to send me over the edge. Thank you. I'm going to read a poem that takes from the poet Basho. It takes this whole poem and uses it as a title. And I don't feel bad about that because I truly don't think he would mind. When I'm out of the state, I always say I'm from New Orleans because everybody knows where New Orleans is. When I'm in the state or among a local audience, I have to specify that I was from the West Bank, Gretna to be specific. And my family was very upset when I was introduced as Poet Laureate, and everyone kept saying I was a lifelong resident of, well, they said Covington. And they said, you're not from Covington, you're from Gretna, don't forget it. So this is called Even in Gretna, Hearing the Cashier Talk. I long for Gretna. Coasting into my old world to help Mom pack up the house she can't sell for nothing, rimmed as it is with trash and canals threatening to overflow. I get a taste for the red drink of my youth. And when the cashier at the gas station lets slip the drawl of my people, most of them scattered elsewhere or to the grave, I could sob. Peacock talk, purposely showy and slow. Anytime I'd hit the twang, Mom got angry because I was letting my Gretna show. And she threatened a face slap or a taste of soap. And I circled on a red bike, just out of reach. And I'll close with this. It's the last of the prison cento sonnets. Search for the key always and forgive my fears. The dark pushes through, blocking out what's right. I walk down the walkway, creep forth on little paws. I don't regret the steps. Cars drive by without me. I know I'm someone. I am he who won the race in silence. Count me all the reasons why. I long for life. I am here. My mind is still free. With dead eyes, the chains jingle. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Okay, I'm going to try to I hope that doesn't mess things up. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. So it's an honor to read with everybody today. I'm Carrie Causey. A lot of my poems come from just being inspired by a sense of place, especially from childhood. I grew up with a big family off River Road, Plaquemine Point area, and we also went to my grandmother's a lot in Mississippi. So there's a lot of landscape and the deep recesses of my imagination. And so lots of my poems are exploring these kind of roaming, childlike voices in those landscapes. And the poems that I'm going to read today are all of that piece. The first one is called Let the Cat Die. Have y'all ever heard that phrase? So in my family, when we were swinging, they would sing this song about letting the cat die. When you're done swinging, you just kind of let gravity take over. You stop pushing, you just let gravity slow the swing to a stop. And they would call it, just let the cat die. I looked it up online, I couldn't find any evidence of this phrase like ever existing, but there was a tiny little lyric that came up. Why you rocking so slow? You waiting on the cat to die? So this is called Let the Cat Die. Never liked the name for it, but you can play it alone. So if anyone sees you, they'll say, oh, she's just out there swinging in the backyard, not testing her mind for any open doors. Who knows where you'll go this time? Readying the ropes, wiping clean the mildewed seat. Lock your legs, raise up on your feet, arching back. Hear the high note and the cue. Tell the air in front of your face to move, then let go, body of feet, and ride your own time. Let the cat die. When you're old, the game will be let go, body of grief. Let go your skin. Slip down the well sides. To what are you holding on and why? How long can you abide the world moving with shut eyes, or that there is always some earth under the earth where gravity slows and X at your toes? I never felt anything die then. The game is, how long can you keep alive, falling inward against that slack? The sound the dirt makes changing, how quietly it opens the eyes of any sleeping cat. This one is called Palm Reader. This whole event is called Just Listen to Yourself. So in my poems, I try to listen to that little childlike voice who's kind of the muse or like, you know, the poet in me. I was a little kid not knowing that one day I would be a writer, but I always knew it was natural to play pretend. Palm Reader. One day I catch her, silhouette swooping across the screen door, and I know to follow her alone. Braver than me, she who taught me to slip between veils, to shapeshift in broad daylight. We're two cattails no one notices sailing through the tall grass. We're two Mississippi kites landing on the shady trail to the creek. Sweat in my eyes, my heart still high from changing states. Write a secret in your palm, she tells me, and I obey even though I'm too young to write. I'm too young to name the poet in me, this seer, but I can read the sky above her head between the pines, a blue pressure like the back of a mirror, a spell that might burst with the right words. It won't rain, she tells me. We won't go back until they ring the bell for us, until we hear the bees swarming the porch in full sun, until the vulture picks its shadow from over our heads and carries it across the pasture. Thank you. Yeah, so there's a lot of dark images in my childlike poems, but I don't mean to be macabre. It's more of like, as a child, you're just interested. You're interested in the dark, the shadows, and the light, and you're weird. So that's kind of what's happening in this next poem. A child playing like she's dead, pretending she's dead, but what I ended up doing is flipping it backwards, so it's not gonna make sense, but the dynamic of it and the voice in it, you'll hear it. Girl playing dead. Young again, the throat painted with one dry coat. At the balcony with the conch shell nakedly, through the house upstairs to behold her, or to have her gallop again as she used to, at all angles, to have her get up and walk. Warmth without heat piercing at the ends, under the carpet, the light on me a kindness. What was she? Now cool as the cat's head. On my back they will ask, oh, my children, when they find my body cut with softness and spears and knots. For my mourners, for my little ones, this thing held loose in my palm is an heirloom, mom's tomato pincushion in one hand, skin you can shine a flashlight through, and the heart beating, and the lizard skin. I have to roll my jaunty skeleton in dust just to play dead. Now, this next one's called Ditch Flowers. I don't know what y'all call ditch flowers, if y'all had a name for them. I looked up some of the names because we always just call them weed flowers, the yellow flowers that burst up everywhere around this time. And so this poem is trying to capture just being this manic child. And by the way, I've had children since I've written this poem, and I find that a lot of the imagery it resonates with the wildness of kids and their imaginations. But ditch flowers, you're going to hear a couple of the names at the end of this poem, but we always call them weed flowers. They turned us kids outdoors because we've been rhyming all day like rubber balls smacking brick. Because whatever's too small, we thumb squish. Empty-handed, our powers itch. A scab on my knee, your elbow. Like pretend archaeologists, we pick peel from peel to discover there's blood in the tree trunk. Some dimensions don't admit us. You say, let's stab the ground with a stick. I clip the spider web and the saw handle. Jar the spider, shine a light on the spider, because someone is doing it to us in the full sun. Yellow tops burst up everywhere, tender stalks like naked legs, thick snaps, so I know the ground too can only breathe a little from its mouth. Breathing in the little left makes us grow wiry, like the backyard woods, half groomed. We run so the wind can wash us. I hide, you seek, and there's a door to a door to a door until you get tired of making the sound. Me, the one tracking rocks, you, the one who won't shut, traveling skyward, clouds on our shoulders and neck. Up the levee top, pretend to have a duck's ass from which to shake, insect happiness, and that's how I hum over the cattle guard. You overjump, but I zap before your frog tongue, zinging just in time beneath the force of a slap, between the teeth of a cat's arrowed gums. We belong to the day world, the next mouthful of grass. Horseflies who sniff the creek and shift pebbles from our fists when they're too cold to squeeze. Hooligans who churn up cow patties with sticks and gather their flowers. I, yellow top, you, pissenlit. I, bitterweed, you, lion's teeth. And this next one, it's picture the same two wild kids finally relenting to some rest. My son actually gave me this title, Rocking Chair Moon. He said, it's carved out like a rocking chair. I'm like, well, thanks, I need that. Sometimes at dusk, we land close together at the river like two green herons turning mud from oyster shells, picking sand from driftwood and brick. You say, there's an island downriver big enough for us to live on, but home is a pinching in my heart. Hold on to me now, lay your head on my shoulder. I've seen my mama carrying babies. We'll just sit here and let the vines grow over our heads like they do to the trees that live between highways. The sky's an oil-slick rainbow. The moon's carved out like a rocking chair. See the bats waking up, how blind their bodies open, the purple air combing their fur. Let's stay here till we can no longer follow their circles in the dark, till we're so still we can hear what they see by heartbeat. Close your eyes and try now, my baby. All you need is a good sleep to remember. You belong to this world.
Thanks.
Carrie, when's the last time you read in public?
Oh, I'm right here.
Oh, hi, sorry. Hi.
It's been a long time.
It's been a while. Well, I mean, how about that? Shout out to the judges table in the back. How y'all doing? It's very nice to see you. I am today's resident charlatan. I'm primarily a fiction writer and nonfiction writer, and I've had a lot of success doing that, but I mean, I don't know, amongst this panel of like esteemed poets, I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I feel very nervous, so I'll try and keep it down a little bit. Let me take a deep breath, get some vibes going. Hold on. Yeah, that's it, all right. Let's count to 3. There we go. So, Jim, we're gonna miss you. We're really gonna miss you. Meg, make sure when you kick him out the door, don't kick him too hard. Okay, so I think I'm the only poet up here who doesn't have a book yet. Wait, Sean, you got a book, huh?
Not yet.
What? All right, so me and Sean, so we're kind of like that that meme of Steve Buscemi, when he's like the baseball cap on in high school. He's like, hello, fellow kids. That's how I feel right now. So don't judge me too hard, judges back there. All right, so my first poem is a part of a series I'm writing that may be a book one day. I've said that I've been very fortunate to be blessed in my life. I married a wonderful woman. I have a great family. I teach at LSU. I publish books in fiction. But my poetry is mostly about failure. Now look around this nation right now without getting too political with the camera on. But I mean, look at all this, right? There's a lot of failure happening, right? So let me start with this poem called Exhaustion. Exhaustion. My long nose hangs over the footboard. My feathers sparkle with moon dust. No, mold. A body is not a cage because it won't move. A body loses worth because you won't move. Spigot drips twice a minute. Water returning to the throat where mysteries belong. These plates of gold, once my armor, now my sarcophagus. Prop my old body up in a schoolhouse and dress me well, a lesson to the youth that can't be taught. Thanks. So, I'm not a complete failure because I have published some things like in the world. My first poem that I published was actually in my own fiction book of short stories. How about that? Whatever you can get away with, right? So this poem is called Spinning, and often when you're writing, your subconscious is way ahead of you. So I didn't know it at the time, but basically it was me looking at what happened to all my ancestors as a result of corporate evil, I think. Who knows their own themes, right? Let's try it. Spinning. 1. After my dad died, I bore his body from room to room. The cancer had flayed his flesh. I was shocked by his heaviness. His body pulled the cords of my back to their conclusions. He put a violin in my hands when I was small, and once I turned the peg as a note rose, higher and higher, until the E snapped against my arm, a caterpillar-shaped welt rising. 2. I refused my father once. He asked me to gift him a pack of cigarettes. Grandmother has a heart attack alone in the night. Arteries hardened by Philip Morris. A surgeon slices my mother's breast to save her from cells gone to riot, chewing their way out of her body. I say, Father, I'll do this for you at once. Love is. 3. Mama cries for years after his death. His leaving ends our circling. Don't you miss him, son? The green wedge of a Salem's pack winks from her lap. After I filled my car's tank, the needle rises from E to F. Every cell of Mama's body balloon-filled with heavy water. In my daydreams, she inhales. Smoke nettles her lungs, then calls his true name. 0. 1982, I'm 4. Dad takes the wheel of a pickup truck he borrowed from work without permission, reaches over to clip the end into the passenger seat, throws the transmission into drive, lights off down the ice-black rock road of Veterans Highway, watches my laughter at the witch's cackle of wind flowing through the cabin, misses our turn at Lafreniere Park, turns too fast, spins us in the intersection, 2 infants on the back of a mermaid, the fishtail whipping in the drizzle-made ponds, he reaching over to pin me in places I think this will always be. I don't know, I get kind of bugged out when Icon's in the house because like she's like the greatest of all time. Like, I can't even like talk looking at, I gotta look at y'all. I look over here, I get too nervous. Next week, if you're around at LSU, there's gonna be a poet named I can't talk, see? Natalie Shapiro will be at LSU, I think either next Tuesday or the following Tuesday. She's a wonderful poet, and I'm like a baby poet. I'm trying to learn what they know already. So I didn't know what a volta was like a year ago. A volta, like, raise your hand if you know what a volta is. I don't know what a volta is, all right. So this is after Natalie Shapiro. She has a poem called Heart Child, and she has an amazing volta in it. You can see it online. It's like on YouTube when she reads it. This is my tribute to her. Hers is called Hard Child, mine is called Soft Man. Soft Man, after Natalie Shapiro's Hard Child. I've always been a soft man, lowing with my brothers who take the brightest born to serve in a menagerie of self-regard. I would save nothing of this world of why, not beauty pageants, not NFL football games, not big guns, or boys will be boys. I lament Atalanta, who was transformed into a lion for offending Zeus, a hurtful man if ever one sat on a mountain. I lament not because she was forced to pull a chariot, ox-like, with the man who roofied her, but because she had no sister in the telling to groom her tale and hear her roar. Didn't you publish that one? Okay, so Alison published that one. Thank you. It's going to be in, what, 64 parishes?
Yeah.
64 parishes. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. All right, so I didn't even know what this poem was called. This is one of those blank and you miss it. It's just like it's 4 lines. Okay, is it a limerick? Is it a haiku? Apparently it's called an epigraph. Yeah, super duper short. Okay. Not so fast. Formerly cap, as in no cap. All right. Not so fast. Words on a page can do a great bit of good to reshape the world and make us what we should. Set the land aflame with your internal lighter, but alas, not every writer is a writer. I tried. Thank you. All right. I got like a couple more here that I'm gonna get out your hair to get the real poets back up here on the stage. By the way, I want to give a shout out to my friend in the back with the hoodie that says, I am Knuff. I'm also Knuff. I love Barbie the movie. I'm a big fan of that. A friend of mine texted me like yesterday, like making fun of me about something. And I sent back to her, I'm like, we've known each other for like 17 and a half years. And that doesn't sound right. It's been like a year in my mind. So I'm a former corporate lawyer, and I always felt out of place as a corporate lawyer. It just felt like I was working for the wrong people. But I had one good friend who looked out for me, so this is dedicated to her. It's called I Used to Be Much Faster. I used to be much faster. Damn the sun, let's just go, my friend D said. So we sprinted, the sweat-soaked air pressing our skin as if a rag in our mother's hand. This heart hammers, this small heart made to collapse. All I want is to lie like the grasses. But she embraces me with her eyes, arms pumping. I'm not gonna let anything happen to you. Love comes in unexpected pairs. I'm a head and a half taller. Her hair flows along the sides of her shoulders. Parentheses, pantheress? I am hairless and large. A whale breaching the surface, fins flipping, fat and light on his feet. Another once offered. I've known what it means to swim in shame, to lower my lashes at words placed on the crest of my belly. What is flesh but our ancestors rising from surface to skin? My family is built low and wide, the better to submerge, but they made me this floating creature, breaching the blue. I have swum so fast, fins peeling, that I smelled the pepper of my elders clap from wide, low savannas. I believe my eyes were black until I saw the sun in my reflection. A panther can run as fast as she likes. I only crave the depths. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for being here. I'm going to set my timer because I have no sense of time. Not since Katrina, since COVID. See, reading to an audience of people that I've never read to before is difficult for me. I've published a few books, some in the last century and some in this century. So I wanted to start with a poem from 1972. I had a new girlfriend who asked me for a bedtime story, and I couldn't come up with one. So the next day I wrote this. A story about the tiger who spoke French. Once upon a time, a tiger sat in a tree and didn't do anything. Leaves, then blossoms came. The water hearts of the apples grew. When the apples were picked, the tiger was polished and sent with the rest to market. In his own heart, he could not hear the water beat. When his mouth opened so he could die, many apples fell in. They fell all the way to his stomach, which took them like a princess taking love. When the apple sellers set up their baskets on the roadside, he ate them too, and a customer. That afternoon, he was painted by an artist along a leafy pondside in the city park, where he was also stroked by young girls in the uniforms of a convent school. A student discussed Rilke with him. From the far edge of the green, he heard music more perfect than any strain of the apple winds or the loose talk of birds. He watched the baseball game. Two lovers hustled him for change. In the late afternoon, he heard church bells and dined on an old woman asleep beside two little children. At dusk, he bought cotton candy and spat apple seeds and rings at the monkeys in the zoo. Later, he wandered down to the river where I was. He read some of my poems. He spoke French with my pretty wife. This is a poem from the mid-'90s, from 1996, referencing an event from 1974 that very few of you will remember, but it was when Gerald Ford became president. Anyway, in 1996, Gerald Ford addressed the Republican convention, causing me to have some memories. The poem is called, "By his appearance in San Diego, a former president recalls the bringing together of father and son. Seeing that nearly blank square of a face from which issue those flat, subcommon words, I am reminded of the flare of optimism this flotsam hack once ignited in the smoke-filled and divided American heart of my father, so bright, if briefly, I got a call, all the way to the little room in Arkansas where I sat stoned, returning to the broadcast charades of the powerful, my own unamplified blankness. Was the word soul used? The phrase dark night of? By this man whose very head appears to be a helmet? Who can remember? But this I know. My father called out of the wide blue of the road to cheer the shrill, broken note of Nixon's passing, to ask me if I thought it would be better now, be okay. Didn't I feel dissonance lifting, disgust taking a break, at least a hint of a blue sky of morning? I held my breath, but maybe only to attenuate the toke, and shook my head. We can't give up our pessimism now, I said, and we did not. Okay. So here's a first poem of a series called Solecisms, and I'm just going to read the one. Although we have no right to hurt one another, this poem yanks you out of your chair with one hand and slaps you silly with the other, all the while saying, see, it didn't have to come to this. We could have chosen justice over property, the heart's idea of what's right over the idea formed when two heads or more get together to make a plan. We could have all said all at once, but wait, there are people starving and we have silos full of grain. Maybe if we all had been naive all at once, all together, we could have rolled this planet on its back and tickled its belly till it yelled, okay, okay, stop. I'll confess, economics is a vast and complicated excuse for injustice. Pride makes fools of us all. And moreover, love really isn't that hard once you decide to tell the truth and hang on to it. Damn, I mean, there is enough. How many houses do you need? How many choices of soap? How much of a lead over the rest of us before you feel safe? We could say, well, I'm in. What needs to be done? Instead of running for the cover of sophistication and distinction, church or state. That's my angry poem. I have some happy poems. My father was in the Battle of the Bulge. He was I won't go into it too much. Anyway, I think you know what the Battle of the Bulge was. It was the coldest winter in European history, and that created a lot of confusion about where anybody and anything was. So, my father, this is called the Bulge. My father should have had better. It's what I think, is what I've always thought. It's my complaint, not his. I never heard him groan about his lot, the kinds of things men whine about, reeling in their catch in greedy spurts. My father was calm, even when provoked, measured, a battuta at least, an andante. Mud is bad enough if you're naturally neat, and coal that slices the thin cuts in your soul. Put the two together and add gunfire, razor wire, mortars blowing trees to kingdom come, no toothbrush, socks wet for days, and inside of shoes there is no one to mend. The inside of the brain wavers and wins, but isolation crowds discomfort, misery corners the rocky landscape, star-burned. I try to picture my old man as an old man, my friends all passing my father's final age, like travelers past an unseen stone. My father, who dug holes in French dirt, or was it German? No one knew anything except the wind tore the flesh from their faces, except the chill was like weeds blooming in the blood from feet all the way up to ears, except who could feel their ears. The ice spoke each man's name slowly, crystallized in one eyeball after another, except face down in the dirt was blind luck, except a man was repeating his mother's name, and it was the same as the name of the man's mother next to him in this dirt that had no country carved into it, that had none or would have. My father turns from the barbed wire where hangs the flesh of who knows whom or from which side, hangs like rags, his flesh still damp, still marked by small cuts and dirt dripping from the wire like paper mache drying, a still light sliced from irony. And I'm going to have to not read, I'll read one more from my new book, if I can find it. Okay, it's a poem called Mary. Mary was my sister. She was born with Down syndrome. I seem to be reading mostly prose poems here. I'm not sure why that is, but anyway, I'm not even sure it's a poem. Somebody else called it meditation, so I'll take that. But anyway, this is it. My sister was surreal. I say the word in its expansive form, covering oceans, locked into the moon's secret frailness with its ardent constituents, and bathed in the songs of the most abused, the lostest detainees, bloody from pure joy. My sister cried in secret, alone, absent survival skills or the will to harm. It's odd, this extra chromosome, how those endowed could never make war, plan meanness, or make a mess of any form of love. My sister was forgiveness and respite, the mercy at the heart of creation. To step into her world was where you belonged when you did. She cried in secret. Just sometimes, our mother said, she'll feel sad. My sister's sadness makes my head spin with its cosmic implications. She conducted the sadness of the world. Her sacrifice went everywhere to heal the broken parts we never see.
Hi, I'm Sean Munro. I have 2 poems for you today. One short, and the second one long. Munro for mayor. I'm proud to formally announce my candidacy for mayor of New Orleans in 2025. Campaign slogan, Munro for mayor. I ain't doing shit, but I ain't stealing shit. Please cast your vote at the nearest property tax exempt petrochemical facility, our most sacred of civic spaces. Quiet. Quiet? Quiet. Quiet. Is quiet power a shower or a grower? I saw the worst minds of my generation become the loudest. Quiet quitting or quiet killing, which can best live in a blighted office building? They're a quieteer now, an outlaw who silences the clamor. Let me smoke some of that quiet, bruh. Lecture me, please, but do so quietly. Queer quietness, again and again, that's my yum. The quiet gateway of a crotch zipper on a silver spacesuit. Be quiet about male genital mutilation. It's a green business. No tips, please. A man bun quietly covers a bald spot. No cap, bro. Don't loud cap me, bro. Quiet, bro. Quiet cap me, darling. We're dying of manslaughter, and the laughter is not quiet. No quiet minds in the State Library of Louisiana today. A quiet crush? No. An orange crush? A grape crush? Yeah, a crowd crush in the quiet room. Can my face stay quiet while my selfie cam scans the warmth of my moods? Could I shoot a CEO, then order a Big Mac at the kiosk without a whisper of recognition before they take me down? If I screw a silencer onto my poem and fire it, will it be a federal offense? Isn't every poet's quiet dream to be murdered by the state for their poetry? If I told you the Debt Consolidation Board of New Orleans, made up of Rex, Comus, and Momus crew members, has controlled the grift economy for 200 years, they would ask me to gently be quiet. Be quiet, growls the toad to the children. Only natural disasters can quiet the interstates. So let's take a ride down Shut the Fuck Up Boulevard. Stay or go quietly, or don't go quietly. What if it's a quiet morning, Dylan? Excuse me, Dylan. Do you have dog shit for ears? Here's a voodoo spell to quiet your neighbors. Spit in a chicken's mouth and throw it up your chimney. An offhand, nearly silent mayoral proclamation during Locals Night of Poetry Fest. Culture-washed Cantrell's $20 million revocation from the school board. Quiet power at its loudest. A quiet retention of Clerk of Council Laura Johnson after 11 years of sexual harassment, just as old white men have long been quietly protected for the same abuses. Both wrong, but only one unquiets the local news yesterday morning. Nothing but crickets from Kilmar Abrego Garcia, quietly waiting inside El Salvador's CICOT, quiet, most likely because he's dead. But don't worry, when the government finally admits it, it'll be their loudest killing yet. Shh. National Security has a bedtime story for you. ITEP quietly granted property tax exemptions for each petrochemical facility in Louisiana. And now we hear the silence of Louisiana gone bankrupt. Don't worry, quietly losing your pension costs you nothing. Quiet power, quiet quitter, quiet winner. A quiet poem on now's loud history. A quiet pronoun glides and goo. A quiet coo, quiet clock, quick quacking. Quiet cake, little bites of attention. Quiet poems for quiet listeners. Loud listeners? Nah. Quiet listeners. Here in poetry for the vibe. Quiet, shh, these are quiet times. Big noise, phrase us. Quietance, frayed. Government funds, quiet. This big noise. In the big quiet. Quiet in churches, quiet in theaters, quiet at each performance. Can I job hop for big noise? Excuse me, quiet please. Can I volunteer my data for big noise quietly as terms of service, the quietest document? Do you agree to this poem's terms of service? As a government poet, you quiet fellow, this poem is its signifier. Quietly listen as this poem is optimized to extract value and quietly de-urbanize global logic. Don't quietly admit it's not working. The loud part made quiet. Shh. A quiet poem for our now loudest times. Shh. The violence has crept to our toes. Shh. Reject quiet. Either way, you are next.
Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model, born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. Lucille Clifton. I just wanted to open with that. paying homage to one of my favorite poets, Lucille Clifton, and also giving thanks for the many writers who I have the honor of being in the company of. This is my second Listen to Yourself, and the second poet laureate who's invited me, so I am beyond honored. And so when I step up on any stage, I take with me my grandmothers, my grandmother's grandmothers, and all the people who probably had a dream of writing but didn't know what being a poet was. And so I, their offspring, get to live their dream. As they say, I am my ancestors' wildest dream. So thank you, Alison, for inviting me. Mr. Ruffin, who downplays himself severely, who I own all of his books, and I'm gonna put them on eBay one day. Hopefully they're all signed. I say that to say that. But yeah, I'm gonna share a few poems and then get out of y'all's way. I wanna start, since we're in the State Library, with a poem about the little girl that is me that inspires all of the poems that I write. So this is Muse. Side note, footnote, I am from Louisiana, a small town. Most people think New Orleans is just it, but I am from Alexandria, Louisiana, but a longtime resident of New Orleans. So somewhere in a little town like mine, in a hood like mine, on a street like mine, in a house like mine, maybe there is a girl with simple words and a complex name who needs to see another name that looked like it could be her mama's, or her sister's, or her cousins, or her aunties, or her best friends, or hers, when she searches for something familiar across rows, down spines, between pages, within lines of names that are stingy with syllables, or of names that are no louder than a respectable tone, or even names that broke through the dirt of any other country but here. Any names other than the ones that in seasickness were vomited up on these shores and washed away more and more with each ravenous tide. Any names other than the ones who called this home long before thieves picked the locks, set up shop, and changed it to America. Maybe she a country girl from country folk, with dismembered knowledge of her origin before her big daddy, her Medea, and maybe God, maybe. Much of her lineage lies scattered somewhere beneath a maze of headstones in a garden of memories, a place with too many flowers and not enough remembering, or beneath rows of crooked crosses in overgrown churchyards on now abandoned roads, somewhere in Alexandria, somewhere in Boyce, somewhere in Taylor Hill, somewhere in Hannah, somewhere in 3 Leagues, somewhere in Powhatan, somewhere in the middle of only God knows where, somewhere where entire villages and towns full of names and faces and stories hopped in the casket too when such and so died. Somewhere in the whole wide country, maybe there is a girl who don't know nothing about her could be West African, or her could be Caribbean, or her could be part Indian, or her nothing else but her for show black. She who only got faith in a God she could feel but can't quite name, and both her grandmama's faith in Jesus and prayer. She who is of those who tuck their dreams reverently between the pages of dog-eared daily devotionals and superstitions. She who knows Psalms and Proverbs and salt and shoulders, knows fire and brimstone and spit and brooms, knows wine and wafers and cracks and mamas with damn near broken backs. I'm talking about she who is tender mustard greens and hot water cornbread, crafted in hand-me-down cast iron skillets and skillfully eaten with fingers instead of forks, because she was taught that we already came here with everything we need. And besides, it just tastes better that way. She who is homemade butter biscuits and mud pies and everything southern and deep and brown and made lovingly by hand. Maybe she needs to see a familiar face, a familiar name, a familiar story about how something so living can grow from the same kind of stolen land. So yeah, we don't know anything for sure, but right now, everything else is either a memory or speculation. And so I write poems for the people who may not know their entire lineage all the way back so many generations, but who can still feel those people walking with us. And so that being said, I want to do a poem in dedication to my great-grandmother, who we lovingly call Medea, but her name is Mary Sice, Mary Catherine Walker Sice. I want to honor her. I recently went back to Alexandria and the land where my great-grandmother's house and great-grandfather's house. We call everything by our mama's names. I don't know if y'all do that in community, but that's your mama house. It ain't your daddy house, even though he may pay for it. But my great-grandmother's house was always the watering hole for all of the grandchildren, great-grandchildren. She was up the street from our family church, across the street from my grandmother, around the corner from my parents. This is how we grow up when you grow up in the country, as I did. So I went there recently and the house was demolished because my great-grandparents passed a long time ago, and the house had not been inhabited, and we know what happens with the house that is not inhabited. So I paid homage to the foundation that was still there and the land that was there. And it made me think about 2710 Houston Street. Mama Dear's house. Mama Dear's house was china ball, pecan, and fig trees, wooden and weathered, a work of art that Big Daddy whittled by hand, an infinite world within a quarter of an acre lot, only feet away from my grandmother's house across the street, up the block from my family's church, and across the street and on the same block as another church. Mama Dear's house was another world once you crossed the threshold. Front gate always closed, front door always open, saying knock knock as you simultaneously walked in and spoke. Big Daddy always in the front room on the couch until he wasn't. Medea's house was fresh pressed tablecloths, an old curio cabinet, beige rotary phone at dining room table, rotary fans, no air conditioner, 2 refrigerators and a deep freezer, hot oven and hot pots, always something on the stove. Family chatter and the daily town talk, funny pages and yellow pages every morning over toast baptized in butter and the flames of a cast iron skillet, then dipped in coffee with buku cream and sugar, even though it make the children's head hard. Mama Dear's house was cushaw and cantaloupe, mustard green, salt meat and hot water cornbread and cold milk, fingers as forks, silverware aged like silver hair, washboard and washing machine on the back porch, antique flour sifter, and eventually a small microwave. Vanilla wafers and cold drinks, Ritz crackers and American cheese, gravy and rice, everything seasoned just right. Medea's house was children knowing they better act right. Switchings and whippings, manners and behavior, the Lord is our Savior, wrinkled, benevolent hands, benevolent offering and mission Sundays, visit from the life insurance man, manila envelopes holding policies like family secrets, great uncles who still lived in back rooms, always enough room for all her children, grands, greats, and great-greats, always a great time, porch sitting and storytelling, children playing in the yard, no yelling, cars passing by and people waving, Medea walking you to the gate and standing there waving as you left. Medea's house was love, the family hub, faded sepia-toned photographs of family who had long ago passed away. Medea's house was Medea at the head of her dining room table, in front of her phone, the same exact place where God finally called her home. See, my Medea's house was Medea. Thank you. I want to do one more if I could, and then just thank y'all for your attention and your time. I've been battling, I know the name of this reading is Listen to Yourself, and I've been trying to listen to myself on which poems I wanted to share because we have such a limited amount of time, and there's so much that we all want to share. So I'm just gonna eeny, meeny, miny, moe and pick this poem because yesterday I did lose a friend who is a staple in the New Orleans community. I want to say her name, Dewana Makiba, who transitioned yesterday. And one thing Dewana was known for is doing hair. She has a beautiful salon that does black natural hair on Bayou Road, which is one of the oldest black roads in New Orleans, and also one of the biggest hubs of black-owned, mostly black women-owned businesses. And Dewana was one of those people. And so in honor of Dewana, and also I moonlit as a hair braider and doing hair out the living room and other places we weren't supposed to be doing hair, or so that's what people say. And so this is the gospel of girls who do hair in honor of my friend Dewana McKibben. And you may not get the references, but just walk with me there. You don't have black girl hair. Oh, this is the gospel of girls who do hair. This is the gospel of girls who do hair. Oh, this is the gospel of girls who do hair. It's an edge and a people snatching word. It's an edge and a people snatching word. Amen. Ain't they something, these hands, these magical black girl hands, how they can weave protective prayers into weary scalps, literally. Like abracadabra, little blue magic into our palms, and poof, all your day's worries and nappy edges are gone. See, this kind of honor is our birthright, passed down from our grandmamas, us sitting on the kitchen floor watching Medea wave that hot pressing comb like magic wand, all of that smoke and fire. See, this kind of tradition is our apprenticeship that crossed over on ships, how with enchained together palms we still manage to carry the muscle memory of gripping edges and trying our best to not go over them, not unless that was our only way back home. You know, some say that hair braiders in many ancient cultures were considered healers, those with access to the head, to the crown chakra. I guess that's why my grandmama always say, be careful who you let get in your head. Tell them don't throw that shed hair away, for fear a bird will come and make nest of it and drive you crazy someday. No, instead, remember the smoke and fire in your grandmama's hand, make ash of the hair and return it to the smoke from which it came like poof. Watch a magic black girl sitting on the front porch or the front room or the kitchen or the beauty salon teach a whole history lesson about how this entire country was built using nothing but her hands, braiding patterns into hair so we don't forget the way to freedom. Tired, aching feet from standing all day, arthritic hands balled into a fist like kitchens resisting. Call her the greasy finger griot who do business by word of mouth, the same way our people share all things we consider sacred. She who has mastered the art of catching and gripping that which other folk allow to slip right through their fingers. Hair savior, walking on waves across continents of coils to create culture out of cuckabugs. Expert in economics 101, that is how to take nothing, i.e. your edges, and turn them into something, and ain't they something? These Old Testament hands, how they make Red Sea of parts. These ancient Kemetic hands, how they make perfect geometry of box braids. DNA kinky twisting good hair into our genetics since Genesis, and the good word on the street is each time a black woman slays your edges, an angel gets its baby hair. For she be giver of a new dew and a new life. For folk be born again when they leave our chairs or from in between our knees. They both be a heaven that this world don't even deserve. For heavy is the head that wears a tangled crown, but anointed are the hands that tend the tender and itchy scalps and know how to build an entire kingdom, all from scratch.
Thank you all so much for coming out this afternoon. Poets, I know they're gonna want some pictures of us, you know. So this is our day to be famous and sought after. But after that, we'll be free to mingle, and thank you all so much for coming.